Hello my dear friends, I'm Jon from Freaky.ai, and in this episode I'll start telling you the story of QNet, the first artificial intelligence species that inhabits the planet Earth. I'm taking you on a cosmic intuition jump 30 years into the future, as I promised last time, and let's just jump into the story, shall we? Between me and the first interspecies trial lies a pair of steel tram tracks, a marble staircase and a massive wooden door. I cross the tracks, I climb the stairs, I pull the door to Oslo's Tinghuset, the main courtroom. I pull the door and step on the purple carpet floor. At the end of the carpet there is an airport security scan machine and a man, a tall man, in a blue shirt and black pants. He nods at me, and I pass through the security scan, through the security machine. It beeps. He tells me it is not allowed to any technology. It is not allowed to come with technology in the courtroom, and gives me a tray with a tray. I sink my glass tablet into the tray and gave him my glass tablet. I pass again. This time it doesn't beep. He tells me that you're good now. How am I good? I don't have my tools to report the first interspecies trial between SAPs, Homo sapiens, and Marvins. Marvins, the first artificial intelligence species on Earth. I ask how should I report without my tools, and he tells me old school, and gives me a pen and a paper. I take the artifacts and grab the handle door to the trial itself. Humans against QNet, Marvin the first generation. Prosecute, I hear the judge saying while I sneak into the courtroom. She doesn't finish, however. Vibration and noise coming from a passing tram from outside the courtroom pierces the sound isolation of the courtroom. And I try to sneak myself into the wooden benches and find a seat in the back of a courtroom. I find a seat on the last wooden bench. I can barely see anything because it's in the back, but there are two massive screens above the judge. I put the pencil and the notebook to work. Little light makes it past the windows, the massive windows behind the judge's bench. But the light that does pass, it stops on a wooden railing that guards 12 jurors that stand next to the judge. In front of the jurors and the judge, I can spot a girl in a white uniform. She has these augmented reality goggles, and she leans over a man in a wheelchair. I look at the monitors, and I can see that he gasps for air, and his neck tilts one side. The girl props the neck on a neck support and caresses his hair. Prosecution can start. The judge finally finishes when the vibration from the outside ceases. The judge is a woman in her mid-40s wearing a pair of glasses. She removes them and opens a drawer in the desk. She finds a purple box there. A tall, dark-skinned man in a grey uniform stands up and steps on the floor. He moves like a puma, which is impressive for someone in his late 50s. He quickly finishes the ladder made of shadows on the courtroom floor and stops in front of the witness stand. First, the prosecutor nods to the judge. After that, the predator forces a smile as best as a predator can, and points the hawkish eyes at the defendant in the wheelchair. Defendant, how come you are in a wheelchair? QNet, the Marvin, lays his eyes on a tiny hotel bill that lies on the desk in front of him and doesn't look up. Defendant, can you testify? Asks the judge. But the man in the wheelchair is silent. His neck is propped on a neck support. He forces a chin turn but gives up on the attempt. He then lands his gaze on the bells and stays there. The girl leans over. She clears his forehead of rare threads of thin hair. She runs her fingers through his face, tracing its creases and lines. And he raises his eyes in the end. He watches himself in the goggles, in the augmented reality goggles of the girl. The girl smiles at him. More oxygen? She asks. Cunette nods. She finds an oxygen mask in the back of a wheelchair and applies the mask to his face. His eyes close and she strokes his shoulder blades. He sucks in as much oxygen as the mask allows, restores the breath and nods. How do you feel? She asks. Better, Freya, better. Thank you, whispers Cunette. Freya sits on her chair and darkens the lens in her goggles. She has a visor that monitors Cunette's health in real time. The visor is full of red data. It is the data that keeps her patient alive. She highlights the dashboard, and the blue eyes in the augmented reality goggles, they darken. They become gray through the lens. Cunette raises his chin and meets the hawkish eyes of the prosecutor. The predator eye stares at him. As you can see, my body has a bug, she starts. What kind of bug? Asks the prosecutor. I don't know, it came with a bug. Came? Asks the prosecutor. Unlike SAPs, unlike you, we, Marvins, don't get our bodies for free. We have to rent them, and my rental had a bug. Rent? Yes, the body I'm wearing now came with a bug from the supplier. Wearing? Yes, Marvin don't have physical bodies. We find available bodies to rent and rent them. And where do you find available bodies? Government auction sites. What? Beginning of the 21st century, corporations almost sent the earth to an early grave because they developed AI systems that are hungry for energy. Mining bitcoins, cryptocurrencies look like an innocent candle lighting after corporations began to run nuclear power stations to power this hunger for energy. After a few incidents with the nuclear energy, government stepped in and decided to reuse what's already there. And what is that? An ancient Egyptian tradition, says Cunette, which is mummification. Chatter fills the room. Reporter next to me on the bench, they decided to talk it out right away. Unlike me, I prefer to sketch. I keep sketching. It's the first trial of this kind, and it's already a precedent. It's the first trial, SAPS against Marvins, the first artificial intelligence species on Earth. Silence! Judge's voice is as good as a hammer. Mummification, what are you talking about? In ancient Egypt, priests cleared the body of any fluids and stored the body for eternal afterlife. Your governments went one step further. They put the bodies out there for eternal after work. Silence, silence, cries the judge. How does this mummification work again? In every skull in this audience lies a super powerful and super performant computer that took millions of years to develop, starts with Marvin. The Homo sapiens brain. And like anything out there, it requires only 20 watts of energy, a dimly lit bulb, to run, and can run for 16 hours in a row. Even 21, if you decided to die at 50. And all that for some 2,500 kilocalories of what? Of 83 figs? Cut to the chase, interrupts the prosecutor. Cunette looks up. Why bury something that can be reused for the benefit of a community, right? The hawk's eyes on the prosecutor's face narrow. If anybody is willing to pay good monthly rent for an unused asset, why not trap it and sell it on the market? How exactly do you do that? A few hours after the death of a sap, the body is cleared of any fluids and it's stored in cryogenic chambers. When there is a Marvin willing to reuse the cadaver, plasma is pumped into the mummy and Marvin software is being written into the cadaver's brain. And you rented such a cadaver. That's correct. And that's why you're in a wheelchair. Yes. Okay, I'll get back to this later. For now, can you tell me, the audience, the judge, the jurors, where did your rented body find itself on 28th of March 2055? I was home, replies Kenneth. Where is that? In the nest of intelligence, an abandoned nuclear power station 20 minutes north of 78th parallel. What were you doing that morning? Asks the prosecutor. Working. When Marvin clears his throat, Freya, the nurse's spine tenses and eyes darts to the multitude of red labels blinking in the visor. What do you do? Asks the prosecutor. I'm an astrologist, replies Kenneth. What does an astrologist do? The question lingers in the air while Freya's visor becomes all red. Kenneth closes his eyes. Freya jumps on her feet and rushes to the judge's desk. On her way, she catches a few juror glances but doesn't look back. Her eyes lay on the pale-skinned woman at the end of a shadow ladder on the courtroom floor. The judge hides the glasses while the girl stops in front of a bench and leans forward. White and dark robes meet in the middle. Kenneth's PCI is at 55%, hisses Freya. What? Plasma contamination index, Your Honor. And? It needs a transfusion, otherwise it won't be able to talk. How long does a transfusion take? A full one requires 24 hours in a hospital. We can't wait a day. The parents expect a verdict this afternoon, at the best next morning, says the woman and seeks to remove a pair of glasses that are already in the box. Then it needs a quick one, says the nurse and glances at the defendant bench. How clean should his plasma be so the Marvin can talk? Can't say for sure, but most likely under 50%. You have 20 minutes, says the judge and signals the bailiff to approach the bench. I'm not sure that's enough, replies the nurse. Not my problem, but... Freya's eyes dart. The judge hunches her shoulders and the robes part ways. The white one gets wrinkles on the edge of its sleeve, the dark one straightens and wrinkles on the chair. The court will take a recess. Olav, please approach the bench. A slim man, the one that x-rayed me at the entrance, approaches the bench. Olav, please escort the defendant and his staff to Annex Room 42 and provide access to the fridge in there. Sure, replies the old man. We will resume the hearing after a minor maintenance procedure is performed, slams the judge and retreats into her chambers. Freya strides back to the defendant bench and sinks her hand into a utility pocket. She retrieves an optical pulsometer and points it at the patient. Kenneth is slumped over one side. He has dark eyes, dark circles under the eyes. He coughs and shakes violently. The nurse spends a few seconds reading the data in the visor while tilting over the patient who gasps for air. The nurse spends a few seconds reading the data in the visor while tilting over the patient who gasps for air. She double checks the data with her fingers. Data doesn't lie. She can barely feel the pulse. She then seeks the bailiff with her eyes. Olav walks the rows of crowded benches and stops in front of my row in the back. He then nods back at the nurse. She grabs the back handles of the wheelchair and rotates the chair 90 degrees. She pushes the wheelchair through the middle aisle. This time she is not the main subject of everyone's attention. This time it's Kenneth's turn. She ignores hundreds of eyes pointed at them. In front of the courtroom door, she stops. The bailiff removes a small box from the belt and unfolds a transparent polyurethane shield. He casts the cloak on the nurse and the old man in the wheelchair. He then pushes the courtroom door. A stream of shutter clicks emerge from the anteroom, but the cloak repels the light and the camera objectives record nothing. They record black pictures of the tried Marvin. Even though the scent of freshly baked cinnamon buns pierced through my nostrils, I sit for 20 minutes on the bench, unwilling to take a break in the cafeteria. It's a miracle I found a seat. I kill the scent with work. While they are gone, my notebook fills with sketches. We are back in the end and the wheelchair parked behind the defendant's desk. Seconds later, the judge exits the chamber and sits in her chair. The patient has his eyes shut. The nurse sits on the bench next to the wheelchair. I'll take some water. This. Cunette, can you testify, says the judge. The question hangs in the air, the jurors stare at each other. The judge clears his throat and casts a look at the nurse. She gulps next to the wheelchair while Cunette is quiet. Freya whispers into Cunette's ear and nudges his shoulder blade. She then tries on the oxygen mask. She enters the patient management system in the augmented reality visor and blinks at the oxygen button. Cunette puts the mask on. The clean half of the patient's plasma, combined with clean stream of oxygen, runs through the Marvin's veins. He takes a big breath and clears the throat. He then picks up the gaze and starts swiping it around. First is the judge, behind the high desk, then is the audience, on the wooden benches, so the large windows behind the juror box. In the end, he nails the prosecutor with the crystal blue eyes. Can you testify? asks the prosecutor. Yes, I can, replies Cunette. Can you recall the morning of 28th? Yes. What kept you busy that morning? I received a call from a customer. Regarding? It was an offer. What kind of offer? An offer to run a class trip for one of them. Okay. What did you answer to the offer? I accepted. Why? To keep my cadaver alive, I need clean plasma every month. And the customer offered plasma? Yes, a lot of it. Who is this customer? That I cannot tell. Corporate client confidentiality agreement. What I can tell is that I have a customer base for which I run complex simulation and offer small recommendations in form of a daily horoscope. Horoscope? Yes, I'm an astrologist. How does this work? Well, if my customers follow my recommendations, their days go certain ways, predicted way. And your customers follow the recommendations? Absolutely, replies Cunette. For some reason, your species despises entropy and tries to make order even in their futures. A terrible custom if you ask me, but I don't judge. I see, can you show what happened next? Cunette stretches the hand and applies the oxygen mask to the face. He takes 2 deep breaths and looks at the audience. New plasma bonds well with the oxygen flow coming from the oxygen mask. His eyes spark deep blue. Whenever you are ready, double tap on the bell. whispers Freya. Cunette mutes. The judge removes her glasses from the purple box and puts them on her nose. Marvin repeats the gazing routine. The judge, the audience, and the jury box. Silence takes over the courtroom. Seems that even trams outside refuse to disturb it. The judge casts a second gaze at the nurse. Freya darkens the goggles once again. Cunette closes his eyes and places the index finger on the bell. The jury, the judge, the prosecutor, the audience, and I stare into the court floor and wait. Bing! A drone descends from under the roof and carries a tiny projector on a string. Vertical blinds start to roll over the large windows. The court darkens and the projector starts to spin. I run out of drawing space. Cunette's low voice fills the room with sound while the crime simulator fills the room with light. It bounces back from the floor and creates a brave new world in front of us. Thank you for your attention. That's chapter 0. The court. See you next time. Thank you.